Right, hi guys, this is going to be my super nerdy prepping video. Might not be my last one because I'm getting quite obsessed with this, but just want to talk you through my EDC pouch. EDC stands for Everyday Carry. I do actually carry this with me every day. I'd be lying if I said I use it every day, because some days I just sit around and watch telly and there's not much call for it, but I do use it quite often, at least a couple of times a week, and it has come in really useful. So on the outside I've got my lovely little Union Jack on the front there. On the back I keep my torch clipped to the back, and that's because I find I can hang this up, and it's actually quite useful to be able to use it as a work light sometimes. Sometimes I lay it flat and have it on like that, but it's just quite a powerful little jobby like that. I'm quite obsessed with the colour green as well, so where possible I've been a bit of a tart and tried to find things green. There's my little torch. At the outside I've wrapped about 3 meters of paracord around this outside strap, and this was my first attempt at a paracord plait, which was a massive fail, but it actually still works quite well. And this here is a little glow-in-the-dark tag that I laser cut myself, just so it kind of shows up slightly better in a dark room. Anyway, inside, nothing in there because there's no room to get anything in there. So as I open it out, there's two kind of halves, so I'll do this half first and then this half. Okay. So first thing, this is a little striker in here and a flint for starting fires. That's in a pinch. That's if my lighter's run out and got no other way. That's just a little striker. Next to that I've got some true utility nail clippers, which are quite handy to have on you, and these pack flat really nicely as well. Here obviously, I mean, it's all very well and good having a flint and a striker and stuff, but actually it's quite handy to have, cut out a middleman, cut all the rubbish and just have a lighter on you. This one's a really nice, it's sort of petrol lighter, but unlike a Zippo, it doesn't kind of lose the fuel over time. I think there's a little rubber seal in there that keeps it in place. I've got two things in here. I've got a little pry bar, a little mini one, and I've also got a tiny little little memory stick, just in case I need to save any files in a pinch. You know, not stealing government information or anything like that, normally saving photos of my little boy, but you know, always useful. Here I've got a Stanley pocket screwdriver, nice and compact, nice and useful. WD-40 pen, which is really handy, and it's a really nice kind of multi-purpose thing. You can use it for cleaning, you can use it for lubricating, all sorts of things, but that's just packs it down. It's got a lot of uses, that. In here, you can see at the back, I think I'll get this out, this is kind of like an X-Acto type handle, but what I've done is I've put some springs on, because springs can just be useful for all sorts of things, and that's the handle there on its own. Obviously I don't want to have it with the blades in it. Up here, if I unhook this here, on this kind of this label part here, I've actually hooked in a hairband, and that's a little Theory 11 wristband as well there. That keeps these things together. I'll talk about these in a second. But in the back part here, I've got what is essentially a little mini first aid kit. I won't go through everything that's in there. It's standard stuff like you know, alcohol wipes, bandages, plasters. I've got sickness, diarrhea, headache, painkillers, all sorts of things. That's just a standard kind of little first aid kit. But what I did find is that this was actually quite a handy thing. That's from one of the other things I bought, just this thing with the Euro slot. It makes it quite handy to pull everything out all in one. In here, I saw this on another EDC video. I can't remember the name of the person, but this is a really handy idea. This is one of those little kind of pouches that you get in a wallet. So I've got an absorbent cloth, some salt and pepper, just in case, a magnifying lens for starting fires. Again, I've got about a million different ways of starting fires in here. Pretty much just need a lighter though. A mirror, some stamps, that's a plastic bag that kind of folds out to about A4 size. You can get quite a lot of water in there. Got some tin, about a square foot or so of tin foil. These are some disposable gloves that you get at a petrol station, but they're quite handy for doing various things. A little microfiber cloth there as well, but that all packs down into there nicely. And just behind there I've got some larger bandages. And that all tucks away in there. The only other thing I've got here, these are my driver bits for my Leatherman, which I've got back here. Okay, in this part up here, obviously I've got the hairband and I've got the thicker kind of rubber band. They are holding two things. One of them is this little tin here, which has got the blades for my X-Acto knife have been sellotaped to the top, so it just keeps them out of the way and accessible. I've got a little sewing kit there. I've got a safety pin. I've got some earplugs. I've got a little tube of super glue. And I've just got some safety pins in there. And behind there, you might just be able to see, is a 3mm drill bit, which is really useful for drilling 3mm holes. This thing I'll come back to in a second as well, because I think they're quite important. Not everyone would probably agree with me, but I think in an everyday carry kit, I think it's vitally important, but I'll tell you about that in a second. So that's kind of my first half in there. Oh, and that's my blood type. Again, on another EDC video, I mean, most of this is sort of come from watching other people's videos and kind of getting inspired by what those guys do. I've got some little pin there hidden in there, and in the bit that goes all the way around there's actually a little bit of space to fit some zip ties. So anywhere where there's space, I'll try to utilise it as best as possible. This thing here goes with that thing there. So on the right hand side I've got an Opinel sort of fold out knife. Use it for all sorts of things. I just took it to work and sanded it back a bit just so it sits a bit flatter in the case. I've got a Fisher Space pen. This isn't the outside was just a nice pen, but the ink inside there is a Fisher Space pen refill. Write it upside down, underwater, all that sort of stuff. Kind of like a pencil, but it's not as cool. This is a glue stick. You can heat them up and use it to seal things, repair things. They're really useful to have. I'm just going to put that to the side. I've got a second tin here to store this, because what I wanted to be able to do was for it to close up and have as little wasted space as possible. So this tin, to keep it there, I've actually stored two magnets on these. These are some sort of surgical scissors. They're really sharp. They're really good for all sorts of things. Two quite strong neodymium magnets on there, which keep that tin kind of where I want it as well. So that's a really good little knack I've found. Rubber band around the outside. Inside I've got a super bright LED torch which has a little strobe on it. I've got this, which is really handy. It's a tiny little charger for my iPhone from any USB, so sometimes I just find myself in, but this is one of the things I use quite a lot actually. A little nut and bolt and a washer. This goes with the light. And a Johnny. A Johnny is a condom. It's not for the obvious. It's useful for all sorts of things. Storing water. Stick one in a sock. You can store water in it and do all sorts of stuff. And the obvious as well. This is just a little capsule. In here, I'm quite prone to quite severe headaches, so I have this is my sort of very strong migraine medication in there. So I have two of those, because if I get a bad headache, I need them quite swiftly. So I keep them in there. Little pencil sharpener, which is useful for making sort of wood shavings to start fires with. This I haven't seen in anyone's EDC kit before. They're really handy little tools. It's called an Archimedes Drill. If you kind of press down with it, like that, it creates a drilling action. So it's really good for making little sort of pilot holes on things. Kind of works like that. That is just a little nail that I've snipped the end off with some snips, but a 1mm drill bit would be ideal for that. That's a really handy little tool. I've got my beloved Leatherman behind here. This is a Leatherman, titanium Leatherman charge. I won't go through all the things on there, but it's got all the cool things that you'd hope a Leatherman would have. Really useful. Again, that's one of the things that I use quite a lot. A lot of these things I kind of use in conjunction with each other. This thing here is rather cool. it looks a bit like a torch, but it's actually, if you unscrew the, I forget the name of it unfortunately, if you unscrew the end you have these three little pins. I've used this a couple of times already. These pins locate in there. You screw this end back on and you put a bit of paracord or bootlace or something like that, and it's a little grapple. Not for people obviously, because it's not Batman's one, it's just for normal people. Not that I'm particularly normal, but you can pick up your, say you drop your bag down a ravine or something gets stuck up in a tree, you can use it to, oh it's called a retrieve, that's why you can use it to retrieve stuff. It's actually really useful, it's got a magnet on the end as well, so if you say you drop your keys down the drain, something like that, really handy little tool. Highly recommended for an EDC kit. I'm going to put that to the side because it takes a bit of a while to put back together. The only other thing I've got on here in these pouches is this. This is my Lansky knife sharpener, all sorts of different sharpeners on there. So I never have to be without a sharp knife. Okay, last few bits down here, if I pull out here, I've got just a little compass, thermometer, and I think that's a conversion chart on the back there on a little key ring, quite handy. This is a lip balm. Down the side here I've got just a wooden stick which is good for sort of mixing glue, so say I'm melting down a hot glue stick and I want to sort of smear some things in or anything like that. It's just a handy little stick. This is a emery board for sanding, smoothing things. In here I've got a write in the wet notepad. I actually took about 2/3 of the sheets out of this, and I would intend to sort of replace them as and when I use them, rather than keeping the whole thing because it was taking up quite a lot of space. And just in the rings there I've put my tweezers because it's nice to be able to get to them quite quickly. I've got 3 different lengths of varying, these are all sort of gaffer tape. I've got some high visibility gaffer tape in case I'm lost, need to get someone's attention, got some reflective stuff for similar reasons, and some green which is slightly more camouflaged, a bit more sneaky. Small stick. This here is essentially a coat hanger, and what I did is I stripped out the core of some paracord and put it onto the coat hanger wire. It's actually welding rod, but it's the same kind of wire, and bent it round into this shape. It kind of helps keep the structure of it, but it's in kind of an economical use of space. So I've covered it in this, which means it's easy to kind of pull in and out, and it behaves itself a bit more. There you go. Little plastic ruler, some twist ties, so I've got a couple of those in there. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it in there. A few more zip ties in there. So the last thing that I've got, which I haven't seen in anyone's EDC kits yet, bearing in mind that you might be stuck somewhere, you might be having your kit so that you're prepared for any eventuality. Okay, so if you're stuck somewhere, you're stuck in a lift, you're stuck in a car, you're stuck in wherever, sometimes it's good to have a bit of a morale boost. So I've got 2 things for that. This one is just a pack of cards, mini pack of cards. It takes up a relatively large amount of space compared to everything else, but I think in a pinch you'd really benefit from having something like that, just to keep your morale up a little bit, I think. And in here, held in place by 2 more hairbands and a couple of safety pins, are some old poker dice. For the same reason, I think that's really important. Again, and that's something that when I was looking through and kind of finding out about EDC kits, something that I thought was missing, should we say. So there you go. That all fits into this Maxpedition EDC case. I'm not going to bother to put everything back properly just yet, just to save your boredom. But it all zips up very nicely, very snug. And again, that pretty much goes with me whenever I leave the house. And if I don't leave the house, it's in my house, so I've got it. Leave me any comments if you want to find out about any specifics of the stuff that's in there. I can tell you specifically, what it is, maybe where I got it. But yeah, there you go. Jenzo Harmonics EDC kit Mark 1. Possibly the only one I'll ever make. Hopefully the only one I'll ever need. Who knows? Bye.